One of the things I want to talk about in this video is buying equipment that's not fit for purpose. Now, in this day and age, there's so many different people making equipment and so much different equipment that's out there. And some of it's really fantastic. I've been working out for about 30 years and I'm fairly comfortable in a gym. I'm fairly comfortable at picking up equipment and I'm fairly comfortable to understand the basics of movement so I can create a reasonable workout if I'm just dumped in a gym anywhere in the world. But how many people that are part of your target market are in that position? How many people are comfortable with picking up a piece of equipment and being able to use it? How many people that probably never even entered a gym that you want to target as potential members would be comfortable in coming in and picking up a certain type of equipment? So the equipment choice is extremely important. And not only the choice of equipment, but matching that equipment up with the type of member that you're going after. So if you remember in one of the earlier videos, we talked about the importance of really understanding who your target audience is. Is it my younger brother who's into strongman training and CrossFit training? Or is it my mum who's doesn't go into a gym too often, but really needs all the benefits of what functional training can give her, but would be intimidated with training next to or in a similar area as my brother and his friends? So the type of equipment that my younger brother wants is very different to the sort of stuff that my mum wants. You know, my brother and my mum would both be doing deadlifts and squats potentially, but my brother would be happy with a big heavy duty black masculine type of rack, and my mum would want something that's probably soft, it's not intimidating, that she's going to feel comfortable with picking up, it's not going to damage her workout gear, and her friends can use it in a way so that they could probably progress to something that's a little bit more relevant to where they're going on their fitness journey. So all those things are really important. It's also important that if you have got people that have not worked out before, you know, whether you're putting them out on a floor in front of everybody to look at, or whether you've got the ability for them to kind of work out maybe in smaller groups in a little bit more of a private area where there's not so many people looking. So all these things are really important to consider, and most people out there, or most businesses out there, are really just selling what's the latest and greatest thing. One of the things I see a lot is these bridges that are in a lot of facilities, and we sell them, and a lot of customers insist on putting one in. But when I say, well, what are you going to do with it? Because it's predominantly a monkey bar system with the ability to attach suspension training, they don't really know. You know, very few people can do a massive run of monkey bars, even some of the fittest people. So that's not really going to get used. And suspension training, great, but is everybody going to be doing it all the time? And so apart from that, it's just an expensive piece of steel that looks great, but isn't particularly functional. So we like people to think about matching the equipment up with the type of person that's going to go in there. And one of the really important things to get right is storage, because going into a functional training space where there's lots of different training tools can be quite intimidating, particularly if all the equipment's left on the floor and the equipment's not been stored back in the correct position. It can just look a mess. So depending on the type of client that you're trying to attract, if they go in there and their first experience is this messy place with all these different things that they don't know how to use, stacked in different places with different weights that they don't understand, then it's going to be a complete turn-off for that person to want to feel comfortable and come back again. So really thinking about storage in terms of, is it easy to get the equipment on and off? Is it easy to stack things up? We all know, we've been in there, and nobody really likes to put their weights away, but making it very difficult to put their equipment away by having some really obscure storage which isn't intuitive and convenient is going to put people off keeping that space nice and orderly. So have a think about this storage. Make sure that you've also got the right amount of equipment in the right amount of weights for the right amount of people that you want to have working out in the area. And again, when we ask this question for a lot of clients, you know, what weights do you want? How many do you need? How many people have you got working in there? A lot of times people haven't spent the time thinking that through, or very, very few exceptions. So we have a bunch of different ways that you can figure that out in terms of the number of people, the average weights they'll be using, and the type of training. So we can help you with that. But if you don't come to us and you go to someone else, you know, make sure you're giving some really, really good thoughts, because if not, you can end up with all this equipment that you probably don't need. A lot of the equipment doesn't get used. We know that from our research and what we sell, that a lot of the heavier weights are generally not used by many people at all because it's quite challenging to do a lot of those exercises. So what I'm saying is when you're thinking about the equipment, a couple of things. Don't always do what you've always done because that space is different now. Give some serious consideration about the storage. Give some serious consideration about how people are going to be working out in that area, depending on whether they're someone that's very confident in the gym, where they're happy to have their shirts off and be on show and have everybody look at them, or whether they're a little bit sort of insecure with their bodies and what they look like, and whether they're even going to look stupid in lifting the equipment. And make sure that the spaces are designed to fit those people that you want to attract into that area, rather than just looking at what's at the trade show and what everybody else is doing and put that in there. Because if you do that, that's a guaranteed failure. And if you look at the successful boutique studios and fitness concepts that are really working, there's a huge amount of time that goes into really that equipment choice, where it goes, how it's stored, and what the flow of that area is. People putting the equipment back at the end of a class. Where do they all go? Are they queuing up? Because most people want to get out and then they just chuck it down. Or are they able just to put it back nice and tidily so you can turn things around to the next class? Hope that's been useful. Keep a lookout for the next video.